Os habéis salvado, gente.
Da menos, que así puedo robarme
Por
varios.
suerte he entrado, acabo de entrar. Pero yo creo que estaba dentro, no me acuerdo si estaba dentro.
Silencio todo el mundo.
Path of Exile Settlers of Kalguur, which launches next week on July 26th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream,
Ah, este es
so
el
make
drop de
sure
hoy,
you follow the
equipo.
instructions below in order to claim your Corsair back attachment. In today's stream, we will take you on a deep dive into the new Settlers of Kalguur Challenge League. We'll cover the league mechanics, its new and revised crafting systems, a new trade market system for currency, some sweeping balance improvements including 2 Ascendancy class changes, endgame improvements, some further additions to the campaign, and some quality of life features. We'll then talk about our console native port releases and the features that come alongside them. Finally, we'll show you our new supporter packs, ending with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile's game
Currency
director
Trade Market?
your questions from Twitch chat.
Sí,
¿Ha llegado el
The
día?
live stream will drop the full patch notes. I'll
Bueno,
hand
nos
over to
decía lo
Mark
del
now
oro,
to
ese
introduce
que
the new
poner.
league.
Pero eso era del
We've
puedo.
really innovated with the
Puedo,
content in this
cierto.
league, and I'm
Voy a
really
dejar eso
excited
porque
to
no
see
vamos
what
a ver,
everyone thinks. So let's just get right into it with the trailer for Path of
está
Exile,
drop.
Settlers of Kalguur.
Ya está funcionando el drop, gente. A ver, streams.
Rayclast is a cursed land. You'd have to be mad to settle here. And yet, welcome to Kingsmarch.
Kingsmark.
It's not much yet, but with your help, we can erect the greatest city Rayclast has ever seen.
Vamos a construir una puta ciudad.
We'll need
No.
resources
Es un city builder ahora.
and savvy planning.
A pica.
¿Qué coño? ¿Por oro?
¿Hola?
Esa era la season de
We'll
Pau.
attract settlers, craftsmen, fortune seekers,
Hostia, qué bonito.
of course.
Ah, bueno, meten las barras de vida de los bosses arriba.
Taco ha unido 2 ítems en uno. Observa.
Lo ha hecho,
But if
síntesis.
we
Un
prevail,
recombinando.
our ships will be heavy with
Ojo,
ore.
mandamos barcos.
We hope to achieve the
Viene de Age of
impossible.
Empires ahora.
We hope to build.
Es la ciudad de las islas del Puedo,
Mando,
podría ser.
el pavo que compone de Poe es un dios.
Respect with gold. ¡Eh! ¡Mercado de currency! ¡Me gusta! ¡Me gusta!
Warden. What?
De balance mili.
Reward Glad Max. Se viene, señor.
Eso no era el dron de...
¿Ah?
¿Qué es esto?
¿Qué acabamos de ver?
¿Sentinel? Ay, Dios.
In Path of Exile, Settlers of Kalguur,
He visto
you will
Sentinel.
encounter some familiar faces from the Expedition League. Danig, Rog, Tujin, and Gwenin are Kalguuran people who are trying to establish
Los de
trade
Expedition.
between Rayclast and their homeland. They have recruited many curious
pasa
characters
con
from
ellos de
Rayclast,
Expedition?
including some you may recognize, but are also seeking help of a powerful exile, like yourself.
Golpeado, da igual.
Me enfado,
You will first encounter Johan, the King's Hand and Lionized Watch.
Johan, la mano del rey.
He's there recruiting workers, traders, and exiles. Johan, under the command of the King of Kalguur, has been sent here to build a new city called Kingsmarch, which intends
nueva
to
ciudad se
become
llama
the hub
Kingsmarch.
of commerce between Rayclast and Kalguur.
Me gusta el portal.
Soon, he will bring you to the planned site for Kingsmarch, which you'll notice has humble beginnings as just a tavern in a field. But with your help, it won't stay like this for long. It takes a lot to build a town. The Kalguurans will ask you to seek out resources that can be used to begin construction.
Path of Valley.
On your adventures, you might find minerals such as crimson iron, which are veins of iron that have been overrun with corruption, spawning dangerous foes when you approach. Or perhaps orichalcum, which you will have to liberate from the demons worshipping it. Petrified amber attracts mindless, blighted enemies, while bismuth has a strong affinity to the elements and causes the area to become unstable. If you're lucky, you might find vericium, a material as valuable as it is
vericium.
dangerous, and guarded by very powerful foes.
Está diciendo que hay diferentes tipos de materiales que tenemos que minear. Y este, que es el Verifion, está protegido por bichos
But
fuertes.
first, we need to get someone to do the hard labor. This is, of course, a trade expedition, and nothing is free. Miners, along with other workers that the Kalguurans have hired, must be paid in cold hard gold, which you'll notice is now dropping throughout Rayclast. You will have control about who gets hired into your enterprise. Once you have accumulated some gold, head to the town and talk to the recruiter, Rolf. He's been busy
Entonces conseguimos oro y vamos al reclutador Wolf,
who are looking for work.
que nos permite
You'll
pillar
notice each person has their
guerreros.
specialties and a wage cost.
Workers o
It'll be
trabajadores.
up to you to
Wage
hire and fire
es
as you
el
please.
sueldo.
Over the course of the league, you'll be searching for your perfect
supongo.
employees for each job.
Supongo que sí.
O sea,
Once
tenemos
you have
coste de
them, you have to
contratación y
keep them
mantenimiento.
paid, safe, and alive, which we'll get into later. Here we have a prospect who has a
Ah, podemos
specialty
tener un
in
máximo de
mind.
10 trabajadores.
We'll start with that so we can begin to retrieve some of those resources we were talking about earlier. Let's go find some more and put our miner to use.
Buah, me gusta mucho lo que veo,
Oh, we found a vein of
Esta es la mina,
orichalcum
la
ore.
Delve.
It's
Aquí tenemos
guarded by
una
dangerous
beta.
demons worshipping a strange
La beta es
shrine.
un pilón que genera
No, no,
bichos.
no.
Shrine
del
buffs the
Betán
demons,
Glaciers.
giving them
Ah,
power.
vale.
But once you defeat them, you can seize that power for yourself. After that, we can tag the ore, and our mining specialist will get to work. Soon, we encounter a few more deposits, each with a different dangerous encounter. After you have tagged the mineral veins, your miners will get to work collecting resources in real time. They might
Anda.
take a while, but will continue whether you are
Anda.
logged
Los
in
puedes
or
mandar a
not.
la mina que quieras.
The work can be sped up by hiring more or better miners, and by upgrading
Y te
the
va a
mining
minear
station
recurso.
back in King's March to equip them with
Lo de que haya
advanced
esperar tiempo
pickaxes.
real. Uf.
All right, some time has passed and our miners have been able to get the resources back to town. We've
40
also managed
minutos.
to collect some more gold.
Ya, pero es en plan,
We can
si he
now upgrade the
desbloqueado
town and
20
build new
mapas, yo no tengo
structures.
20 workers.
There's plenty of options. We just need to decide where to start. I think we'll start with the tavern, the beating heart of King's
Vamos
March.
a pensar que empezamos
It
con
can
la
be
taberna.
upgraded instantly to improve the recruiter's prospects. And you can find various important NPCs relaxing here. Next, we'll upgrade our mining station. You can upgrade this to improve the efficiency of your
doliendo la
miners.
cabeza.
and
Ah,
allocate newly hired
si upgradeas
workers to
la
mine.
estación de mineo, puedes upgradear a los mineros y tardan
You
mucho
will
menos.
eventually need a smelter, where you can send your
Sí,
ore to
mucho
turn
menos,
into
2
more
horas y
valuable
pico.
Horas y
bars.
pico ponen ahí.
Then we have the Disenchanter, where you can bring your magic,
Dios.
rare, or unique items to be added to a queue to be
Había
disenchanted
uno que
over
ponía
time.
10 horas.
Espera, ¿qué?
Desencantar.
The items will be broken down into thaumaturgic dust, a new resource used for crafting
O sea,
and shipping.
básicamente es dejar los mapas
We'll
en la
get
mesa y
more into
trabajar.
that later.
Desencanta los ítems mágicos raros para
And of
conseguir un
course,
nuevo material
the
que
town
se
needs
se usa
food.
para
You could
craftear.
invest in farming, where you can select crops to grow and harvest. But don't worry, you won't be manually watering anything. Ah, the
Dice que
wonders of
puedes
delegation.
cultivar lo que quieras manualmente, pero que también puedes
With all these
fabricarlo.
resources piling up,
Hostia, qué
there will be
guapo.
¿Para qué
excess
quiero
that we can
esto?
spend. Let's talk about rewards and
Hay
settlers
un
of
montón de
Kalguur.
recursos, tío.
Eventually, you can build a harbour and establish shipping routes between a number of different Kalguuran and Karui ports
Hay
for
como
trade.
20 recursos distintos.
Sí, hay un montón de cosas.
You'll be able to pile your acquired
Mi
resources
Twitter va a
onto
echar
these
fuego.
ships and send them to
¿Y
a
este
port
mapa?
of your choosing, where your traders will
vale,
haggle
No
for
de
the
o
best
sea, con
deals.
los materiales dice
Each
que vas a
port will
poder
return specific rewards
establecer
based on
rutas
what
de
you send
comercio.
them. They accept all types of resources, but will have a preferred type that they'll currently pay more for.
De Kalguur a King's March.
And you'll want to get onto this, because eventually you could be bringing in shipments
¿Pero
like
qué?
this.
Pero, escúchame, Blizzard, se te ha ido la pinza. Ah, no, que esto no es.
This?
Escúchame, jejeje. Venga, hasta luego.
¡Oh!
Se les ha ido mucho de las manos.
Today,
Take
we'll
all,
trade
pone
with
take all.
Kalguur.
¡Buah, qué sumada!
You'll notice that as we
¿Qué
send more
cojones?
resources, this risk meter creeps up.
O sea,
Much like
comercias,
the
tío.
dangers on the shores of
Comercias a cambio
Rayclast,
de
there are dangers
recompensa.
out at sea. Monsters, pirates, environmental hazards.
4 horas.
You
Si
want
le
to try
atacan,
keep
¿qué
your
pasa? Que
shipments
cuanto
safe.
más envías, más peligroso.
You
Vale.
can do
¿qué?
this by hiring workers that specialize in shipping. The more of them you add to the ship, the less risk there will be. Like this gentleman, who's famous for
Hostia, esto es muy complicado,
being the most dangerous of
Y esto lo tenemos en 8 días.
Now let's get that shipment
Wow.
going, and we'll
Hostia,
continue
¿os habéis
exploring
fijado que
Ray
los
class
trabajadores
while we
también
wait
tienen
for
tier?
its return.
Sí.
This is
Había
the
un trabajador
first
nivel 1
Path
y
of
uno
Exile
nivel
League
2.
that experiments with true real-time
Y los puedes
mechanics.
upgradear.
You can send out shipments, go and have lunch,
Y yo pensaba
and come
que-
back to your rewards.
Ahí está.
Many
Acaba de llegar el
mechanics in
barco.
the league work this way, so you'll always have some
¿Qué es el
ongoing
buffo arriba, los
content
3
or outcome
elementos
to
que
look
está
forward
sumando?
to. When your shipment has returned or met its demise,
O sea,
you'll get
la
notified,
mecánica es que
and
pasen
at your
cosas
leisure you
mientras
can
tú juegas
return to
al
the
juego.
town to collect your rewards.
El housing
Our
de,
shipment returned safely,
de los
so
arcos.
let's go see what we got.
Touch
Ooh,
grass.
they've sent
Están
us a
poniendo en el
unique
chat.
item alongside our rewards, perhaps hoping to secure us as a loyal customer for the future. Aside from shipping, the Kalguurans are big on their technology. They have hired Isla, a familiar face from the Heist League.
La
She is an
recompensa
engineer
era
who the
escoger
Kalguurans have
fuera
employed
todo lo
for
que
a
había
very
dentro.
exciting purpose.
Buena pregunta.
You're not the only one who
Había,
understands how
en varios de
profitable
los que
running
hemos
maps can
visto,
be.
que había un montón
Once
de
at
cosas,
in-game,
ponía abajo,
Isla can
coger
help you
todo.
build a series
Era
of Kalguuran
todo.
modified map devices. You can then put a queue of maps into them. If you've hired a few
Guapo.
skilled Atlas
Espera, ¿qué?
runners, they will put themselves to work running those maps for you one after another.
¿Qué qué?
Que se van a poner ellos ahí a hacer los mapas.
¿Qué qué?
You'll be
Encima
notified
puedes
when the
ponerlos en
rewards are
cola.
ready to be collected. You can put lots of maps in the queue, so don't feel obliged to go back there all the time.
El juego de...
Be careful though.
Buah.
Escúchame.
Difficulty of the map
Me
impacts
pillo
the
los
worker
NPCs y
workers
los pongo a
perishing.
Que
farmearme
los mandas a la
la
mierda,
carta.
los puedes meter.
Try to pick your best workers, or perhaps just ones you don't know.
Una pregunta.
Consider the
La
difficulty
presentación del PoE cuando es.
Sometimes
Porque
it's better
este
to
juego
just
no se
run
puede.
it.
Esto no es PoE.
You'll see there are many benefits to
Parece a mí
having
que
a
esta
whole
liga
ass town at
poco
your
mapa van a ver en
fingertips.
Guild Stars.
Let's
El
talk
típico
about
mapa
crafting
corrupto que no tocas ni
services.
con un palo porque te
You
jode un
should
montón.
definitely
Esto
consider building
lo
a
vas meter ahí, te
runesmithing
vas a olvidar
table.
de ellos.
This is
Pero estoy
operated by
jodido.
Danik himself,
Solo tengo 10 días para
using
jugar esta
powerful
season,
Kalguuran
esta liga.
blacksmithing arts. He can engrave runic magic onto your weapons using runes. There are many rune types
¿Qué
and
coño?
combinations to choose from, and you can unlock new crafts
vuelto
that
Diablo
can be
esto?
applied
¿Diablo
to your
2?
weapons as enchantments. Our design intention here is to take
Pero
powerful
¿esto es una
effects you would
expansión o es
usually
solamente un
only
parche?
find on unique items,
Es un juego nuevo, creo. O sea,
Mira.
like this
creo que luego
modifier,
viene la
which you
presentación.
might
de-
Minions
recognize from
sin
Doom
damas.
Fletcher's prison.
Dios.
Danik can apply it to your two
Es la mesa de crafting de siempre, pero ahora en vez de pagarle con
There are
currency,
over
le pagas con
100 different
runas.
special crafting outcomes, ranging
Pero
from
son
ones very
enchantments.
easily applied to
Para
very
armas.
difficult. The rune
Tiene una
types can be
cosplay,
acquired through
pero de
trade with
fuego.
Kalguur,
Existe.
or
Tenemos
defeating
la
powerful
tecnología.
bosses. The Kalguuran tech benefits don't end there. We're also bringing back
Se ha ido de las manos
a
totalmente,
formerly overpowered crowd favorite.
Esto en una expansión me lo habría creído.
Recombinator, lo pone ahí arriba.
She just needs you to
No.
help her with getting resources.
Oh, Dios.
The
Dios,
system
cuánto
isn't
oro.
as strong as it used to be,
48,000.
but it still allows you to combine two items together, hoping to get the best modifiers of each onto a
Hay
single
mil
item.
y mil de la energía de magia.
¿Tú sabes lo roto que va a estar
Between
esta liga
running a
los
town,
ítems?
shipping, and exploring, you'll be collecting a lot of
Eliminaron los
extra gold.
recombinator por un motivo.
It is now the primary
Por eso
resource for
puedes
two
meter. Vas a tener que
huge
pagar
new
oro
quality of life
y-
features that
y
we are
romper
putting to
objetos para
test.
conseguir la
Da
mierda.
igual.
Firstly,
Da igual.
you
A
can
ver,
use gold to
quality
respec passive points. This is a feature from Path of Exile 2 that we've decided
Ya no hay
just
respect,
makes
se
sense
eliminan
to
los
pull
respect.
back. The higher
No,
level
no,
you
no
are,
estarán
the more
eliminados. Puedes
expensive it
usar los
gets.
dos.
Ah, vale.
Puedes
And the
usar
next
oro
one
si
is
quieres.
absolutely massive. A currency trade market.
Ocurrencia
The Kalguurans have recruited Faustus, another NPC from the Heist
Black
League.
Market.
He allows you to asynchronously buy and sell currency and most other stackable items with other players without the nuisance of
Ah, claro, aquí hay jugadores que ponen el precio.
people who never respond. All you need to do is select
Adiós,
what currency
boss.
you want, say what you have, and your ideal ratio.
Dios, son
It
todos los
works kinda like a
fragmentos.
real-life stock market.
O sea, que tú puedes hacer una solicitud de compra o una solicitud de venta.
Selling on the other end
Sí.
for the same rate or less. You'll be able to go back to
Viva
Viva para la gente que no
while
tiene las
trusty Faustus
pestañas.
does the dirty
Y sin
work,
tener que enviar
notifying you when your
27.000
currency is ready for
mensajes.
collection.
Eso es lo
All you need to
importante,
do is
podría
pay
hacer
him a
los
small
cambios
amount of
que me
gold
digan.
for his time.
Ojalá haya un
Cards on the
barramuteol.
table. This
en el
is an
juego.
experiment.
Tú sabes-
This type of
Juega
asynchronous
full
trading
solo.
has a place in future Path of Exile releases. we're very excited to see how
¿Tú
it
sabes lo que
goes.
va a suponer esto para la gente que se tire 6 días desconectada y cuando reaparezca le van a quitar el ítem? No le va a dar tiempo de cambiarlo. ¡Mercado negro!
Offering items for gold. The items will generate with random rarity, and on average, the modifiers on them are better than normal.
Gambleo.
This can be a very nice way to get some targeted items during the campaign.
El buen, ¿no?
For serious crafters,
Tienen que
this will be
seguir
a
primero
great
este
starting
vídeo porque
point for
están
making
poniendo
those
todo lo de este
elusive
vídeo aquí.
specific in-game items. Which
Pues yo
perhaps
pensaba jugar
you can take
Spade en
to
esta
the
liga de
bluesmith
primeros, qué
afterwards.
cagada.
It's worth noting that you
Pero tienes
can
que
invite
pagarlo, ¿no?
Faustus
Por lo
to your
visto.
hideout, where he will always be available for respecking, currency exchange, and black market
Sí, pero el
items.
oro que hay en todos lados.
As your town grows, it
Necesito
will
un
have
rayo de
pero en
grande
el
ahora,
currency-
sí.
good and bad.
Pero en el currency market
Sailors of
está más
Kalguur
expedición.
features 3 endgame bosses that will
O sea,
close
estaría
in on your
las
operations.
Pero escucha, una cosita, porque ahora el día 26 tenemos la liga de Poe.
They might
¿La beta
capture
de
and
este
ransom
juego
your
cuándo es?
workers, even your entire ships. You'll have to make some tough decisions. Will
What?
you take them on or pay them off? One example of a boss is Sasan, the
Oh.
Bandit Lord. You won't stumble across this boss by accident.
Sasan.
Instead, this unsavory character can come into your town at night and take your Atlas runners hostage,
¿Qué?
holding them for ransom. What happens next is up to you.
¿Que te puede atacar la ciudad de
La
noche?
gente
To
que pega los
negotiate with
mapas te los
bandits,
secuestra.
leading to a fight to defeat Sasan and rescue your workers.
¿Que este tío te secuestra gente de los mapas?
Te cogen los trabajadores y te los queda y te dice o me pagas o no te
Perhaps
los
these
devuelvo.
workers were especially
Peleas
disappointed.
contra él.
and
O los
they
puedes
were
abandonar.
dead in true
Y
raid
los piratas se han
class
quedado con tu barco. ¿Los rescatas o los abandonas?
Of
Los
course,
rescatas,
heroics
pagas
might be
el
worth it
o
for
sea,
other
es
reasons.
rescatarlos,
These
pagar
bosses can
o
drop new
abandonar.
unique items.
O sea que o peleas o pagas o los mandas a la verga.
In
¿Eh?
sum, Settlers of Kalguur is a
Wow.
very
Oh,
Cuatro
experimental
casteos de habilidad, un
with new
block.
mechanics that will completely change how you play the core game.
Trigger un blog.
We've been sitting on a lot of these ideas for a while and can't wait to share them with you. But there's a lot more to this expansion. Let's talk about balance.
No me hables de balance. Me gustaba lo que estabas
Finally
hablando.
rebalance the gladiator.
No.
It's been a long time coming.
Yo me he perdido, yo no
Like
sé ni qué fue
before,
lo primero
there
que
are passive
mostraron.
skills
o sea.
that allow you to invest in
Que
bleeding
puedes tener
and
plantas.
block. We've designed new skills replacing some of the old ones.
Podremos cultivar hacer
Like
cerveza.
this, War of Attrition, which is very handy for long,
Really
sustained boss
agradable.
fights.
Oh.
Further alongside the gladiator theme, this new passive allows you to combine different weapon types while dual wielding to get a variety of powerful bonuses.
1% más de
For
daño
example,
por cada
holding a
segundo que
dagger will
están
give you
contigo,
more
hasta
critical
un
strike
100%.
chance, while holding a mace gives you more area of effect.
Ah, Mor. Mor
Of
ahora
course,
sí.
you
Mor,
could
Mor,
just use
eso.
Varanastra for all weapon type bonuses. And finally, we have a new notable which allows you to invest
digas
in the
todo.
newly
Entonces,
added
sí,
retaliation skills. These are active skills which require you to meet a certain condition in order to use them. Once you meet that condition, you can unleash devastation on your foes. Here we have Eviscerate, which requires you to have a shield. Or for those who like to dual wield, Sword Storm, which is great for obliterating bosses. Here we have the Divine Retribution skill. This one has the condition requiring you to block. You can then unleash a devastating spell, causing lightning bolts to strike the ground in an X shape around your target location, doing huge amounts of damage.
Me pregunto
And of
si
course,
esto irá
in
bien con
true
el
Path of
trigger
Exile
block.
fashion, there are many avenues to invest in these mechanics further on the passive tree and a new support gem. You are able to increase the leeway duration after meeting the condition, reduce the cooldowns, or just increase their damage. The world's your oyster. The Gladiator wasn't the only
55.
ascendancy class we've changed. As we develop Path of Exile systems, we often find ourselves reusing mechanics, increasing their depth, and allowing more avenues to invest into them. As such, the Raider Ascendancy class found
Pathfinder,
itself
este es
lacking,
un reward de la
with
partida.
many of its passives commonly available
Está demasiado
elsewhere.
rota, da demasiado problema.
We want our Ascendancy classes to always feel like they're pushing the boundaries, allowing you to change your character in ways that are meaningful and ideally unique. As a result, we've straight up removed the Raider, rest in peace,
A la Raider.
and we've
Ah,
added
no, era
a new
Raider.
class in its place, the Warden. This class
Adiós,
is
Raider, hola,
largely
Guardian.
inspired by its predecessor from the Affliction League,
Joder,
with a
qué
few
daño más gordo,
changes.
¿no?
The Warden now focuses on
Hombre,
elemental
que la Raider
attacks,
tenía dos
changing the
nodos que se
behavior of
usaban.
shock,
Ya está.
enhancing
pero-
freeze, and replacing
Sí,
ignite
pero
with
es que eran esos
scorch.
dos nodos que estaban...
There's also a
absolutamente
skill that allows you to go ballistic with your elemental damage,
Un
periodically.
bone avatar skill.
The class also grants Bark Skin,
Pero que han metido un
which is
huevo
a
de
skill
nodos
that can be
antes de
used to
tanto.
mitigate physical damage from hits.
Ha pasado
After
dos
taking a
nodos a
number of
20.
hits, it increases your evasion,
Porque eso es lo que
making
quiero
it a
decir,
great defensive
que no,
choice.
No han hecho un reward ni nada, sino como, joder,
Finally,
que al
the
cambio lo ha
last
pegado.
thing the Warden can specialize in
¿Has
is
visto la poti que lleva?
tinctures. These are an alternative to flasks
Anda.
from the Affliction League. We're bringing them back
Las
with
tinctures,
adjusted
¿no?
mechanics.
Ah, que lleva en la pasiva que puedes tener varias
Tinctures can be
tinturas.
placed in your belt,
El personaje.
replacing flasks.
Sí.
You can
Esto lo que tenía
inherently
la
only have one
descendencia
tincture
de la
active at a
mecánica.
time, and it requires a melee weapon to use. While activated, they grant a powerful buff. They can drop as magic items or be modified with currency to grant extra bonuses. Here is a prismatic tincture. This one increases elemental damage by 100% while active. You'll notice it has two extra effects.
Bueno.
One is that it applies mana burn every second. Mana burn is a debuff that builds up while tinctures are active that causes you to lose mana, losing more mana for each stack. Tinctures also have a cooldown, so once you have disabled one, no other tincture can be enabled for a time. These changes make tincture use a more active and interesting choice than it was in Affliction. Both mana burn and the cooldown can be modified through modifiers on the tinctures or on the passive skill tree. Players will want to maximize
Fabra,
their
gracias,
tincture
Fabra.
uptime for sure.
Se ve muy bien, ¿eh?
Lo
Here
mismo.
we have a couple
Ahora el
other
de Poison,
tinctures.
¿cuál
The
tu
Poison
daño
Berry
más
tincture
a
is
Poison?
excellent for poison builds. The Rose Thorn tincture is the choice for those wanting to deal critical strikes. You might be wondering, with the removal of the Raider, where has the Frenzy Charge investment gone? We've added a Frenzy Charge passive skill to the Deadeye,
Ostras.
replacing the Rupture passive skill.
Guau, lo que le faltaba.
On top of Ascendancy classes, we have revisited a number
Y al
of core
otro,
mechanics.
la
This
NR.
time taking pains to ensure easy access through the passive tree.
Han dicho, como
skill
lleváis
gems,
poquita cosa,
and
vamos a
simple
reworkear
items.
más.
We
¿Sabes
don't
que eso
want
es-
all the powerful
es
mechanics to be
flicker de
hidden
flick?
behind layers of complexity. Let's just
Es
rapid
la
fire
season de
through
Flicker
the
Strikes.
If you
Es
want more
flicker
detail
gratis
later,
eso.
you can read the patch notes, which will be dropped after the
Y
live
eso es
stream.
una pasiva de...
Be sure to let us know what you think. There's a lot of
Forbidden.
changes, so be prepared for a bit of a shock to the
Para la
system.
Pathfinder o para la...
I expect it will take
nueva.
several days for the dust to settle on this one.
¿Qué decir, gente? ¿Nos hacemos una Flicker esta liga?
Firstly, we've made some drastic alterations to melee skills.
Dad por
Let me
hecho
just rip
que la
this Band-Aid
Forbidden
off.
de ese nodo va a estar
Melee totem skill
absurdamente
gems
cara.
have been removed.
Hostia.
We're trying to adopt a
pasado?
philosophy with melee going forward that, unlike other builds, it will be far less oriented around set and forget gameplay. You will deal the damage yourself, and you should be rewarded for doing so. To compensate, we have buffed the damage on almost every single melee skill.
¿En serio?
As the
Todas las
majority
builds de
of
melee han
the
sido
damage
bufadas.
comes from
Además
gym
de darle un
levels,
30% de
we
daño
have
multiplicativo
also
en
made
las
them
armas.
cost more mana as they level, but it's nothing like the mana costs on spells. Here are some examples of the damage and costs before and after. Heavy Strike has gone from dealing 313% attack damage
Ostras.
at gem level 20 to a massive
Ostras.
552% attack damage. It's also worth noting
se
it
viene
no
Slam
longer
de
knocks
nuevo, ¿eh?
enemies
Sep.
back. And Sweep has gone from dealing
¿Te imaginas? Otra vez
281%
los
attack
Exers
damage
les han vuelto a
to
poner
now
el
dealing
bot a cada uno.
660%.
A ver, es verdad que subió el
attack
coste de
damage
maná,
at gem
pero no
level
creo que sea un
20.
problema.
¿Cómo que de
These are just 2
200?
examples, but the majority of melee skills are now
Buah, pero
dealing
que había
approximately
algunos que
75% more damage
one-shoteaban
at
ya,
level 20.
O sea, había Double Strike
Of
ya
course,
one-shoteado.
with melee comes close
suficiente
proximity
investment.
combat, so you need some good
demasiado
defensive
investment,
options.
taco.
Pues ahora lo ha dividido
New base types with higher defensive values will now drop
Ahora
throughout
es
the
una
endgame.
build normal.
Ahora es lo
As you
mismo,
reach yellow,
pero
red,
entre
and
tres.
purple maps,
O sea, entre
you can
tres el
expect to
coste,
find
tercio el
higher
coste.
tier base types in each. For example, Val Regalia and Hubris Circlet are no longer the best in slot items for Energy Shield. There are
Hostia,
new
creo
base
no,
types
va.
that surpass them. Combined with some quality changes, which we'll talk about soon,
Las
you can
bases
now
van a
get
ser
better
más
items than
altas,
ever
van a
before in
tener
these
mucho
slots.
más número Y
To
encima el
compensate, we have
aumento es
reduced the amount
multiplicativo.
of flat evasion and armor from the grace and determination auras.
Ciclón va a
But
estar
overall,
bufadísimo.
you're getting more defenses than
1200 de
before.
armadura.
1200 de evasión.
On top
Para
of this, we have
registrarse,
buff
pues.
life modifiers on magic and rare equipment. You can now get as high as
Tardas menos
189
reinstalando que
additional
actualizando.
maximum life from
de
a
vida, el
single
tier uno.
modifier on body armors, and more on other slots too. Kaon's
¿Se
heart
viene
has
Ciclón?
also finally been restored
Se
to its
viene
former
Ciclón,
glory,
Slam.
and once
Dios.
again grants plus 1000 to maximum life.
Han devuelto al Legacy.
I mentioned quality. Quality on weapons and armors is being changed to apply multiplicatively. In other words, weapons with full
¿Vale
quality
los
will
dos?
give 20% more physical
Sí.
damage,
Sí,
and
porque ahora
armor with
se
full
hace
quality
de
will
otra
have
manera.
20% more local defenses.
Ahora depende
For
del nivel.
melee, this will mean
Escúchame,
damage
que
increases
es una
almost
puta
all builds
regalia
with
con
physical
1000 de
damage
Energy
attacks.
Seal.
And it
¿Pero
will
qué es
mean
esta
more
enfermedad?
evasion, armor, energy
No,
shield,
ahora
and ward for
ahora
all
no es
builds.
si es blanco te da un
Endurance
5,
charges
ah,
no
pues te da
longer
un
grant
2,
elemental
amarillo te da un 1.
resistances,
Ahora depende del
but
item level.
instead grant additional
Pero ha
elemental
habido
damage
algunas veces que le ha dado
reduction,
y ha
making it
subido uno y a veces ha
multiplicative
subido
with
dos.
resistances.
Ni idea.
You can now
Lo
get
explicaron hace un par de
4%
días
per
cómo iba.
charge,
La quality ahora
alongside
funciona
the
diferente.
existing 4% physical damage reduction. To compensate, we have made some changes to the Juggernaut, and various unique items like Eternal Damnation.
Elemento. Más,
You can
más
get
tanque
more
por
maximum
si
resistances from the
a
tree,
Jagger, por si le hace
specifically
falta,
around
¿sabes?
the Marauder class start. These, of course, can stack with the new
Más 1 al
elemental
maximum
mitigation from
resistant y
endurance
más 2.
charges.
Puedes meterle un más 3 en 4 puntos.
Y
¿Eh?
otros cuatro ahí.
Esto ya
Shields
existe.
can now
Si uno
roll
más
maximum
abajo hay
elemental
más.
resistances as modifiers.
Sí. Como
Nada,
Paco, como,
90
Since we're
la
making
Pero que las
elemental
que las
mitigation
Jewel
more
también tienen
accessible,
maximum
we've heavily
resistance.
reduced accessibility to
Las Jewel
physical
Pero
básicas.
es que
damage taken
abajo,
as chaos
literalmente,
or
a
elemental
20
damage.
puntos tienes
Those
a
stats are still
pasiva
around,
repetida.
but you should not expect to be getting full
Literalmente la
conversion
misma, una a
anymore.
cada y 2 a todas. Abajo, a
All
la
block
derecha, al lado,
passives
está
have
al
been
lado.
buffed, so you can now more easily achieve block cap from just the passive tree.
4. Vale.
The Keystone Versatile Combatant has been improved to have less of a penalty to maximum block. A number of Life Leech passives have been buffed to generally allow for more acquisition of maximum leech rate for life.
Rictor Fire.
Escuchadme,
Foul
habéis
Pact
visto.
has been
Paco,
reinstated
¿lo has
to its
leído,
former
Demonio?
glory
No.
for instant Life Leech, but only for melee.
¡Hostia!
We've reworked Flesh and Stone. Previously, this buff skill granted Maim and Blind, depending on the stance of our character. Now, while in Sand stance, the skill simply provides damage mitigation, becoming more effective the closer you are to enemies. While in Blood stance, enemies will take more physical damage the closer you are to them. This skill will now
¡Qué guapo!
greatly
Vamos a
favor
añadir más
melee
multiplicadores
or
como los
close range
Excel. ¿No
gameplay.
tienes suficiente?
La liga se llama
que-
Witcheslava.
Doing a Kalguuran
Te
build,
recuerdo que la Witch
also
tiene que son
received
críticas, que
a
son una
bit of
ciclón, que es
attention.
cuerpo a cuerpo.
There are new uniques that grant ward, and the base restoration of ward is now faster. To compensate, Olroth's resolve has
Sí, pero
been
que son
nerfed,
críticas no haces
but
ningún
ward
ciclón,
loop
cabrón.
builds will still be
Tú sí
possible.
quieres ciclón.
No te sirve nada de
Anyway,
esto.
that was most of the purely defensive changes. Now let's look at some of the
¿Eso de
offensive
ward qué
and
hacía?
utility-based ones.
Es
Es
otra
otra
capa defensiva como
defensa.
el Energy
There are
Seal.
more and better ways
Si
to
te
deal
pegan,
with
te lo
mana
quitan
as an
todo o
attacker
nada.
on the southern
En
hemisphere
plan-
of the passive tree.
Cuando te
O sea,
pegan
eso
empieza a
físico,
caer.
¿no? Ah, vale.
Como el Energy Seal,
Physical
pero...
damage leeches.
Wands,
Otro
daggers,
clúster de
scepters,
aura.
claws,
Sí, yo tengo
and
un-
Ya, es el
staves
clúster de
now
aura.
have higher critical strike chance values than ever.
Nerfa Warlock
Wands can go
también.
as high as
¡Mueve!
10% without modifiers. Sandstorm Visage has been made
10%
rare to
de
La
compensate
Prophecy.
instead
Buah, la
of
voy
reducing
battery.
its power. For you wand attackers, wands now have higher attack speed than ever to compensate for their low damage. Wand exclusive skills such as Power Siphon, Kinetic Bolt, and Kinetic Blast now have faster attack times. Impale passives have been revised and in general buffed.
¿Más iguales?
Un empale
The
adicional.
buffs granted by Warcries are now simpler but more significant and more universal to builds. They also now apply to allies by default. Banners have been reworked. Instead of having a
dado tiempo a
reservation
verlo.
cost, they are now
No me ha dado
free.
tiempo.
However, they don't grant a permanent buff. Banners now need to be placed for the effect to be active. However, once placed, they are far
Hostia,
more
este es
no
un
powerful than
nerfeo.
before.
pero son un efecto temporal.
Additionally, there are new ways to prolong the effects
Sí,
and
los
more
banners ya no
ways to
son
invest in them
permanentes.
than ever before. Rage has been made more fundamental and discoverable.
Hombre,
Rage is
era
now
entendible,
multiplicative
porque nadie
attack
usaba los
power,
banners como
but
tenían que
no
usarse.
longer inherently grants attack speed or movement speed. It has a new cap, and you can find many new passive clusters that allow you to invest into the mechanic. The goal is to make Rage more powerful as a baseline and less gated behind the use of specific unique items and ascendancy
4 de
classes.
Rage por hit.
Y más, y
Berserk
todavía
has
más
been
si no,
nerfed,
güey.
just
Y
so
más.
you're aware.
Y armadura
We
por
have
rage.
changed how
Y
bleed
te da.
works too.
Y armadura por,
You
y
can
rage
now
por ser
find
golpeado.
aggravated bleed on the passive tree. When applied, all bleeds on the enemy will deal damage as if the enemy is moving for the remainder of their duration.
Me está sudando el cerebro.
The skill Ensnaring Arrow no longer
Y
interacts
no
with
se acaba
bleed,
la presentación,
so no more
Los
will you have
ingenieros
to
van a
apply
tener trabajo.
bleeds and swap to a bow. You can now achieve the same result using aggravated bleed passives
Yo no
without the
termino de pillar lo que están
annoyance.
explicando, pero vale.
Rupture
sea, este
from the
como-
Deadeye
como que
has been
está
turned
muy
into a
lento.
support gem.
Es el tema
We've
de
added
los...
the new Overexertion support gem, which highly favors slam builds.
Wow, pues esa
Now,
pasiva estaba
it's time to
fuerte.
look
¿No habías
at a
hablado
hot
de hacer
topic,
exert? ¿Todas?
Magic Find.
Es Magic Find,
In the
equipo.
Settlers of Kalguur expansion, we are going to be removing item quantity bonuses from all character items. This will not
me lo
affect
creo que hayan
existing
tenido
items
los
in standard
cojones.
leagues.
¿Han quitado la
Por
Magic
quantity
Find is
o
intended
qué
to
han
give
quitado
quitado?
la
you access on
quanti.
your gear you can scale once you have achieved the
No
power
me
you
creo que hayan
want.
tenido los cojones.
With item quantity being only available on unique items, this meant if you wanted to get the most out of it, you had to be playing a very specific build. We still want people to be able to invest into Magic Find, but now only through item rarity.
Hostia,
This
acaban
can
de
be
eliminar la
obtained on a
quantity del
number
juego,
of rare
pero no.
item slots, and by
No
a
porque han
much
metido los
larger
wisps.
number of builds. What about Ventor's Gamble,
No.
you might ask? Here it is now.
O sea,
Vale.
This is
Reserva.
one of the biggest balance patches we've ever done. I can't promise that existing builds will all be safe. Even we aren't able to predict all the outcomes here, nor have we even gone into every single change, just the major ones. I don't know, man. Balance is hard. But the sheer number of new
tonto es.
viable options is exciting, especially for melee.
el puto totem,
And we're
tío.
determined to drag the game in a better
Está
direction.
muerto.
Be sure to read the patch notes after
Pero hay
this.
gallinas.
It's going to be a ruckus. In 3.24, we overhauled
Espera que no ha
the
terminado,
experience by
Que no ha terminado
introducing
la
a new
presentación.
tier of maps and reworking scarabs. We want to continue
Otro
to
tier
improve
más?
these systems and introduce more exciting in-game
vale.
content every league. 3.25 is no exception. Let's check out the myriad of changes coming in Settlers of Kalguur.
Pero loco.
First up, we are
What?
changing
Oh.
many scarabs. We won't go into too much detail here to
Pero si
avoid
ya lo
getting lost in the
revolcaste la
weeds,
anterior.
but here's a few new ones. Be sure to check out the patch notes after this for more
No
detail.
fue suficiente reward.
We've also added an
Elimination
additional
card,
map
les
device
ha robado el
slot,
boss
which will be
final.
unlocked upon completing your first 10-way Maven encounter. This simply allows for more combinations of scarabs and
Quinto
maps,
hueco de Map Device
resulting in
cuando
more
completas
difficulty
a
and
esto.
more rewards. This
Y
is on
sexto
top of
hueco de
the
Map Device
existing
cuando
additional
vences
slot
a
that can
Maven.
be unlocked by
Con el
completing your
17.
first tier 17
O el
map.
T17 o Maven.
There are
Son los
now
dos.
6 map device slots in
¿Qué es eso de
total.
Gold?
You might have seen
Me
our
gusta el
teaser,
diseño,
where we
Tiene
revealed
5
we'll be
millones.
adding new
Enseñaron varios y eras
special
menos feo de
encounters
todos,
Claro, me
One
gusta
such
que
encounter is the
el
nameless
sexto estaba
Seer,
rodando.
El
lurking in
Nameless
tier
Seer.
16 and 17 maps. This NPC will give you a selection of unique items, and you can pick
Pero
one
es
for free.
random.
In tier 16 maps, he now has
O
an
hay que hacer
additional
algo.
feature, where you can scry a map. This
Estrella Map,
allows you
¿qué
to
es?
swap the divination card drops of the current map with another map on your atlas. Just one caveat. You cannot have the same map
Oh.
be in multiple swaps
¿Qué?
at the same time.
¿Qué coño?
If you want to
Las
undo your
cambia.
choice, you can use a
Que
Ha hecho que las cartas.
Que permanentemente,
We've also
mientras
made
tú lo
some
tengas,
updates to a couple
las
of
cartas de
leagues.
un se intercambian, las cartas de un mapa por
Blight
otro.
has been updated with some
Hostia,
bonus
tú.
passive
O sea, que puedes estar
changes.
farmeando tunes y que te caigan apotecaris.
Units can now drop in maps.
Dunes va a salir cara de
No, mira,
cojones.
no.
We've also introduced a new type of oil that can only drop from blighted and blight
Doblemente.
ravaged maps.
Prismatic.
Ritual has also been updated.
Dios,
You can now find one new and
Sí, ahora dijeron
many
que meterían uno
reworked
más.
base types, new unique items, corpses you can use to raise a
Podemos volver a
specter's,
jugar Ritual.
Work a Ritual.
and occasionally a fragment, granting access to the King in the Mist's boss fight from the Affliction League.
Mira, hay una
¿En
tortuga.
serio?
He will
No me
drop
digas
a
que
number
tiene
of
la
unique items
Wild
that were
Taker.
familiar from the League, but not that which was taken, as it is now that which was taken away.
¿Qué ha dicho que ha quitado?
However, he now drops a different modular
Que no va a
jewel that
caer
you
la-
might recognize from the Necropolis League.
¿Eh?
Ay, Dios mío.
In
Era
Tier
esperando
16 and
back.
Tier 17 maps, you can now encounter the Wildwood, also from the Affliction
Que
League.
no va a caer
In
la
case you
Dark
missed
Wild
it, the
Taker, pero
Wildwood
sí
is
va
a
a caer.
mysterious forest
Va a caer
fraught with danger.
pero super
In the
nerfeada.
darkness, you will
En la
find
gema de
magical
aflicción,
wisps
la que te
yearning
daba
for freedom.
ascendencias.
Upon releasing them, they will
Otra-
empower the
pues
monsters
esa no
in
va a
your
caer, va a
map,
caer
promising
la
more
que
danger
te-
but
la
more
que le da
rewards.
pasivas extra a tus pasivas.
You may also
de-
find random sentinels
¿Qué
on the ground
coño?
near the start of your
Era-
maps.
Para, ¿centinelas?
They work in a
Sí,
similar
te lo he
way
dicho
to
antes, que lo he
before.
visto.
They aren't items, but you can click on them and then they can be activated in that area at any time of your choosing.
Tengo una duda.
Upon activation, they will buff
¿Qué va a
monsters
durar?
around you, increasing their
8
difficulty
meses
and
la
rewards.
liga.
And here's one for those who like to live dangerously. You may
Solo
occasionally
falta que
find a
diga que te
reflective
metes
mist from the
una
Calandra
tech que
League.
te coja ciertas
It
cosas
has
de forma
two
automática.
outcomes.
Espera.
Jewelry item with random
¡Calandra!
enhanced or inverted
Hostia.
modifier values.
Hola.
Or it can give a reflecting mist item, which can be used
Eso
on
es
an
un mirror por la
existing
cara,
piece
¿no?
of jewelry to perform the same action at a
No,
time
no,
of your
no,
choosing.
no,
No,
no
porque
es
te
lo que-
cambia las estas.
Espera.
No,
There's many other small
no
changes
lo
to
puedes
league
hacer
content.
tú.
We're removing the first 15 most boring waves of the
¿cuántas
simulacrum
Se han traído
and
todas- se
rebalancing
han
its
traído
rewards to
todo
improve the
el-
chances of
el
finding
power
unique
de
jewels.
5 ligas de atrás para acá.
We're also adding some of the beasts from Einhar's Memory of Harvest Beasts
Alguien dijo que
to
iba a
the
ser
core
Path of
pool.
Nerf, ¿no? Me da a mí
This
que...
includes
¿Recordáis que
Me
dije
da a mí que no, ¿eh?
que la liga pasada era...
news, we've
¿Qué coño
added
es
a
eso?
set of new chisel types,
Path
which
of
can be
content.
applied to your maps to get different bonuses.
¿Has visto los
While the
chistes?
cartographer's chisel still increases item
Chisel, ¿no?
quantity, there are new ones that now increase rarity, pack size, increased chance for currency items, divination cards, and scarabs. It's also worth mentioning that chisels now apply 20% quality per chisel to
O sea,
white
chistes,
maps,
pero
10% to yellow maps,
Específicos.
and 5% to
Sí,
red
sí,
maps
sí.
and higher.
Qué guapo, tío.
Unique maps still require the full 20 chisels.
Ay, Dios mío.
Also, only
Por
one type of
currency es
chisel
más
can be
caros.
applied to a map
Que,
at a time.
escuchadme, que es cantidad fija ahora, que aunque esté
During
más amarillo,
3.24,
te
we
puedes
made
echar
a
uno.
change to Tier 17 maps that
O sea,
allowed
le
them to
tienes
be
que echar 4
rerolled with
solo.
Chaos Orbs.
Eso
Ya,
eso
pero
para
tienes que
ser
subir
We are
Ah,
now
no, no,
expanding
no.
the currency types that can be used on them
Lo
to also
puedes
include currencies like
chiselear y
chisels
balear.
and Val Orbs.
Vaya puta
Ultimately,
fumada.
the only restriction Tier 17 maps now have is that explicit modifiers cannot be removed from them. We have also revised the difficulty of these maps, as they didn't quite hit the mark. The monsters in them now have substantially less life, and deal less damage, meaning Tier 17 maps now better fit into the progression between Pinnacle and Uber Pinnacle content. Lastly, we've adjusted the drop rate of Valdo's puzzle boxes.
Sí, dice que los
Les han ba-
bichos
les han bajado
Previously,
el daño
we
y
were
les han bajado
adapting
la
its
vida.
drop rate based on the
Para que
possible
esté
outcomes
más-
selected by supporters.
Para que sean más entre mapa
So
normal
many
y Uber
supporters
Pinacle.
really
Porque
wanted
antes se
to
sentían
entre-
Uber
entre
Pinacle.
Pinacle,
the box was hardly
entre
dropping.
Pinacle y Uber
Thus, we
Pinacle,
have
la
drastically
Ahí está.
increased the drop rate
Pero
of
antes
the
se sentían
box,
Uber Pinacle.
but reduced the probability of getting chase unique items from it, like Mage Blood. Overall, we have taken care not to reduce the number of Mage Bloods total in
Una
the
pregunta, la
economy.
currencia esta que
We
es
figured
oro.
it was better to have more
¿Que es de la
tickets
nueva
for
liga?
fun rather than barely seeing any boxes in a league.
Vale, no, es que lo he pillado a medias, ¿eh?
We've been hard at work improving the Path of Exile experience on consoles. With native ports for the Xbox
Bueno,
Series
no hay
consoles already
Que
being
un-
released,
Un
and PS5
chisel
on the
al
new horizon,
mapa
the
blanco
game now takes
va a hacer
full advantage
20%,
of the
rojo
console
5% y único 1%.
Loading times have been reduced even
No.
further,
Sí,
the
eso
pop-in
sí,
has been
perdón,
reduced,
sí.
and textures won't start unloading in heavy scenes.
Van a ser caros los chistes esos, como que
Furthermore, overall visual fidelity has been improved for all new
¿Esto es
generation
Poem móvil?
consoles. Path of
No,
Exile
no,
now uses the
no,
highest
no,
possible
no,
resolution
Le
textures.
han
Me he rayado.
golpeado, creo, la UI.
We've installed
Claro,
a
el
new
móvil con
upscaling
LP y
algorithm
RP.
that improves the
Exactamente,
crispness
el
of
móvil
dynamic
con los
resolution,
triggers.
with an additional anti-aliasing
Switch.
pass on top of that.
La
With
Switch
these upgrades,
explota.
we
Sí,
also
sí,
support
sí, sí, sí.
variable
No
refresh
existe
rate
para Switch,
TVs
pero-
and monitors on PlayStation 5 and on all Xbox
Pero
consoles.
está la 50.
In the options, players can now choose which aspect of visual fidelity they want to focus on: resolution, image quality, or target frame rate. In 3.24, we added some new encounters and secrets to the campaign. In Settlers of Kalguur, we're adding even more. We're not going to spoil them all here, but keep an eye out for anything unfamiliar on your adventures.
Ojalá se pudiera.
Who knows what you'll find? I mean, I know, but still. There's an
Sí,
underground bunker
Han
underneath
hecho
the
varios cambios en la
refinery,
campaña, como por
guarded
ejemplo
by
los...
powerful robots. I
¿Qué?
wonder what's been hidden away here. How do I unlock this mysterious door? What riches must lay inside? Blighted growths have appeared in the gardens and sewers of
¿Cómo se
Sarn.
desbloqueará esta puerta? Dice.
A vault containing riches can be found in the reliquary. As you might have seen in our teasers, there's a slew of quality
¡Que no ha terminado todavía, gente!
working on. Here's a quick summary. You'll no longer need to interact with waypoints to unlock them. You can just walk by and they'll activate
Esto me gustó
automatically.
mucho cuando lo vi.
Sí, esto es una gran mejora.
Esto es lo que hemos
You'll be able to
visto,
pick up
todo.
items from further away.
Sí, lo que han ido
We're
publicando.
adding static life bars to some bosses. Not all
Eso
bosses
significa
will
que ahora
have them
podremos
just
robar
yet,
objetos
but
a
we'll be
rango más
adding
alto.
more over time.
Sí.
You can now see which
Oh,
divination
vale.
cards
Ya
drop in
rebotaban
each
en el
map
suelo.
by hovering over them on your atlas. When you die, you can now resurrect without having to reactivate all your reservation effects, like auras and heralds.
Esto es una gran mejora.
You can start harvest encounters with just a
Esto
single
también es una gran
action.
mejora.
No te quita las
Esto sí.
The amount
No
of
entendía
quality
por qué había que
provided by
darle dos
currency
clics, la
items like
verdad.
whetstones is now based on the item level, rather than item rarity. Those currencies now apply a 20% quality to very low-level items, with that amount reducing as the item level increases.
Es decir, que si es un level muy
Next
muy
up,
bajito,
we're
con
going
mucha
to be
menos
talking
currency lo
about our
tiene.
new League supporter packs.
Ahora sí, ya
Today,
terminó la
we're launching
presentación.
2 new series of supporter
está.
packs. The
¿Dónde hay que gastarse el
Paladin
dinero?
and Penance packs.
Pase la tarjeta por aquí.
Each
por
tier
favor.
contains the pack's full face
Verás tú
value
el
in
highlight
points,
otra vez.
Me estoy hasta
alongside
mareando, de
several
todo lo que-
exclusive microtransactions.
¿Te has puesto todo torrón o
These
qué?
packs are only available
¿Os acordáis
for
que
the
hace como
duration
media
of
hora
the
os han dicho
Settlers
que ahora
of
es un
Kalguur
Age of
League,
Empires,
and
¿no?
will leave the store
Es
forever
capaz de
and
tantas
ever.
cosas por en medio.
Fácil,
As
es muy
always,
fácil.
the microtransactions in these packs are purely
Balance que
cosmetic
demasiado
and
para
do
hablar
not
de
affect your character's power or
de
progression in
recombinatos.
any way.
Pero
The
la
Una
Paladin
liga de
series
que
of supporter
juega por
packs
ti.
contains 6 exclusive
Eh,
microtransactions.
Sentinel, Affliction. ¿Cuál era el otro?
Adorn your weapon or shield with the Paladin weapon effect.
No me gusta.
Oh,
Make a show of leveling up with
No me
a
gusta,
Harpy flyover level up effect.
Rewarder de Die, Reward del Gladiator.
Equipping
No me
the
gusta.
Divine Paladin
Acaba de
armor
pasar un
set
caza.
will periodically cause slain enemies
no
to
me
be
gusta.
consecrated and laid to rest. This set also comes with a matching back attachment. Both the helmet and back attachment
la
have
armadura se
options
mola.
to display the radiant glow.
Se pueden hacer
or
carreras de roas.
You pick. The Divine Judgment finisher effect locks onto unique
¡Oh, qué bonito!
enemies before obliterating
Ahora
them
podemos
with a
hacer que
laser
el
from
avión
the
de StarCast haga un rayo de...
heavens. May your critical hits
Del
resonate
Starcraft,
across
no, del-
Rayclast with the
La
Cleric's
campana que
Bell
suena con
back
los críticos.
attachment.
Es el martillo del Gears of War.
Invite your friends to spend a day at the races in the Vasteri Racecourse hideout.
De la carrera de Chocobo, ese es un
Add
canteo.
rowers to the track to race them against each other.
estaba claro que el puto Haida.
Escúchame, que les
Or
puedes
you can
votar.
spectate from the
A ver quién
sidelines.
quiere que gane.
Bueno, se vienen apuestas en Poe.
Qué guapo.
Se
The
vienen
Penance
apuestas en
Pack
Poe.
series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Se ve bien, ¿eh?
With the Penance back attachment
no
equipped,
me quedé
a
ojar
repentant
180
soul is
pavos,
chained
tío.
to your back and lashed with lightning.
Está chulo.
Te vas a bajar
Place
500,
none
que es
other than the
diferente.
Trial Master in your hideout and have him comment on your chaos
Grande.
and
cuenta lo que vas
Valcrafting
gastando, ¿o qué?
attempts.
Sí.
Los que llevas gastados.
Sí, los Val y los
Los que así-
He
Chaos.
even keeps a record of how many chaos and
Se
vowels
ríe,
you've
tío, el
used in your
desgraciado.
hideout during the league or across
Claro,
all
porque tenía
leagues.
13, ha fallado el Baal.
Blood stains your armor the
Tenía
more life
12.
you
La
lose
metió
when
el
wearing
Baal,
the
que es
Acolyte's
otro.
Penance
Hostia,
armor set.
Dice Abraham que él se los compra y
The
los invita.
Zealot's Madness portal effect
Venga,
fragments as you near it.
Oh, que bien se ve el portal.
The Cauldron map device boils maps,
Me gustaba más el
fragments,
otro que he
and
calentado
scarabs placed into it, keeping a tally of how many have been thrown into the pot in the current league or across all
Es
leagues.
un map device que cuenta el número de
todo lo que le has tirado,
The
básicamente.
exiled squire pets
Ah, vale,
follow
lo
in
que
your
has metido.
footsteps, hyping you up for battles,
¿Qué hace este tío
Para
aquí?
que no te sientas solo.
providing pessimistic commentary,
Y hace
Mira,
comentarios
ahora me
pesimistas. Te han
or
puesto un
voicing their
compañero.
disdain for you to bring you down a
Para que no
peg.
juegues solo. Para los que no tienen amigos.
Dice, la próxima es mejor que los mates. Va
These
con una
packs
botella en la
are
mano, el
now available
desgraciado.
for purchase
Se ha
on both
reído de
PC
ti,
and
tío, al
console,
morir.
and will remain so during Path of Exile.
Míralo, hay 2 o 3
Settlers
por ahí
of
bebiendo,
Kalguur.
empinando la botella.
Te das cuenta, ¿no? Somos unos putos
Meanwhile,
masoquistas en
the
este juego.
Solar and Eldritch
borrachos del
packs
pueblo.
leave the store forever at the launch of Settlers of Kalguur League. So now's
Entre
your
eso
last
y
chance
cualquier
to
gilipollas que
purchase.
se me cuele en la base
Thank you
con
so
el
much for your
cofre
ongoing
va a ser una
support.
risa.
Now we have one more thing to announce before getting into the Q&A.
Espera que todavía no he
We are
terminado.
soon going to be running a small closed beta test for Path of Exile 2. We have been taking sign-ups for the Path of Exile 2 beta tests over
que
at
te puedes registrar.
pathofexile2.com.
Ahora sí.
We will only be selecting a very limited number of people for this first test, but if you want to make sure that you are considered, then head over to the website and register your email address now. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, we'll post Path of Exile Settlers of Kalguur's full patch notes. With release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for Settlers of Kalguur's release. Keep an eye on the news. On release weekend, we expect to launch the new mystery box and this season's Kerax Vault Pass.
Demasiado.
Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to building our towns alongside you, trying new builds, slaying monsters, and exploring new in-game strategies next week.
No hay
We'll
drop,
begin the
está-
Q&A shortly,
Sí hay.
so please get your questions
Ya lo hemos
ready.
Yo
seguido.
lo acabo de recibir.
Sí, ya lo tengo.
Vale, vamos, vale.
Bueno, pues.
Bueno. Hasta que no acabe el QE ya no publican, ¿no? Las notas.
Se ha caído la página de Path of Exile.
O sea, eso iba a decirte.
Tiene sentido, ¿verdad?
Sí, ¿no?
Pues equipo, ya tenemos el drop, ¿no? Confirmadme que tenéis los drops.
Sí, sí, sí.
Yo aún no.
Yo sí.
lo tengo.
Hace 2 minutos.
Madre mía. Cuántas cosas.
En la oficina.